Happy Wednesday, everyone. This is Michelle from The Little Things and More. Today we're going to talk about depression glass. I have been a big fan of depression glass for quite a while now. I collect a lot of it, and I recently, within the last 2 or 3 years, started also selling it. There's a lot of research that's involved in depression glass. There's a lot of great history, a lot of information, and there are a lot of collectors of depression glass. Today we're going to focus mostly on the federal glass companies. There are several companies who do make depression glass, all with different patterns. Some patterns are very similar. I'm going to try to show you how I look up the patterns and the companies and the markings and such. So we'll go ahead and get started. Excuse me. Depression glass, for the most part, it was mostly manufactured in the central and Midwest areas of the United States, and that was mostly due to the access to the raw materials that were needed to make it and to the low cost to manufacture it. There were more than 20 manufacturers and more than 100 patterns and even entire dinner sets that were made in some of the patterns. There are a lot of common colors. These are the colors that sometimes do not bring in as much as the uncommon colors, and they are clear, crystal, pink, pale blue, green, and amber. And then there's some less common colors, and they're a little more sought after. That would be the yellows, the canary, the ultramarine, the jadeite. It's an opaque pale green, if you don't know that. The delphite, which is an opaque pale blue, cobalt blue, red, and ruby, royal ruby, the black, the amethyst, and the monarch. There's also white glass, which is milk glass, and that used to be an uncommon glass, but I find that the milk glass market is more common than not. Some of it is worth a lot more than others, though. But depression glass has been highly collectible since the 1960s, and the less common colors, obviously, are the more collectible ones, and it basically did get its name because it was manufactured during the Depression, and during that time, businesses and retailers and even food companies sought after housewives for this collectible glass. And basically, they would go to a movie theater and they'd be given a piece of glass just for coming into the door. So each week there'd be a new piece of glass, and it kept people coming to the movies during the Depression. Also, it was placed in food boxes. You'd get a new piece of glass, kind of like they used to do with things that you find in the cereal box and stuff like that. And other businesses, too, would put different pieces of glass as an enticement to get people to come in and spend their money. And I do have a brief history of the Federal Glass Company that I did take from one of the books that I do have, and it's called Colored Glassware of the Depression Era 2. And that book is by Hazel Marie Weatherman. And basically, I love this book because I don't have to sit through web page after web page, which I will show you, some links that you might find useful also. But this is a great book, and it has all of the patterns, and it's a really great resource if you're going to be selling glass. One of the things you might want to do is pick up some of the really good resource books. At first, before I purchased books, I went to the library and just took them out and kept renewing them until I wasn't able to renew them anymore. And then I just started purchasing the books online myself to keep for reference. But the Federal Glass Company was established. It was a hand operation. Everything was made by hand in the 1900s, and it's in Columbus, Ohio. And in the beginning, they made crustware, and some of the early products had needle etching. And because they had the foresight and anticipated the public demand for large quantities of reasonably priced glassware, they made the switch to an automation, and that was by the 1920s. And they were one of the foremost companies in the production of cheap machine-made tumblers and jugs. During the 1930s, Federal was one of the leaders in the production of the machine-pressed mold-etched colored dinnerware. And in the 1940s, they expanded into the food service industry, and during the next few decades, it became a leader supply to commercial institutions worldwide, which is why you find a lot of the milk glass that was made for businesses. And a lot of the milk glass made for businesses is highly collectible. Some of it, like I said, more than others. In 1958, the company became a division of the Federal Paperboard Company, and they remained active in the production of glassware for a lot of years after that. And one of their most popular molds is the Madrid pattern, and that was even reproduced. Some of the molds through the years have been recollections, and the Madrid pattern specifically in 1976 was marked as the American Bicentennial Celebration, and it's a slightly darker color amber than the original Madrid. Federal closed in 1979, and the Indiana Glass Company acquired the Federal recollections and molds. And their date was removed, and the pieces were made then in crystal, light blue, and pink. Federal glass is marked with an F within a shield, and that is how you'll know that your piece is from the Federal Glass Company. Federal made lots of different patterns, and I will link this link in the description below. It's an easy access to helping you identify the different patterns. You can enlarge the pictures. You can actually, if it looks like something that you have or a piece of glass that you have, you can look at the name of the pattern, and then you can do that in your eBay search. And we'll do that in a little bit later during the video. But as you can see, there are a lot of patterns: the colonial fluted rope pattern, the Columbia, the Diana, the fruit, the Georgian, there's the honeycomb hex optic, the Madrid, the Mayfair, the Normandy, the Parrot, the Patrician, the Raindrop, Rosemary, Dutch Rose, Sharon, which is a very sought after pattern, by the way, and so is Parrot, Thumbprint, and then there are Federal kitchen items and barware. There's amber, pink, and green. And some of the other patterns that I don't think I mentioned here was the Fry glass and the twisted optic. I think most of them are all on this site. But basically, what I do when I'm looking up my glass, we'll go to the Parrot here. It gives you the history of it on this paragraph, and then you can enlarge the picture. And once you enlarge the picture, let's see if I can get it over there, it gives you a rather clear picture of the pattern itself. Now, as you can see, I went over to eBay here, and I put in price highest first. And the first pattern that I did search was the Federal Colonial Fluted Rope pattern. And this is green. And you can see that, you know, some of it is more expensive than others. This pattern is a common pattern, so you're not going to see as much worth because it's, you know, it was highly produced and it's very common. There are 4 lunch plates went for $26.99, and if you can get it at a very reasonable price, then most depression glass is worth picking up, depending on how much you paid for it. I mean, obviously, if you paid for this and only made 99 cents, that wouldn't be so great. So I usually never put my depression glass up for auction. And if I do put it up auction, I usually go for the price that I actually want for it. This here actually was one. This piece was actually one that I just sold in September, and it was for 1 cup, and I sold this for $12.99, and the buyer paid for shipping. This next pattern that I looked up was the Columbia, and I also did the same thing. I basically put in the highest price first, and as you can see, sorry for scrolling up so fast, but I was at the bottom of the page for some reason. As you can see, this also looks like it is a very common pattern. But however, I mean, 4 of these tumblers, $92. If you got them for 99 cents at a yard sale, that's quite the profit that you would be making there. And this again was the Columbia pattern. As you can see here, I did a search of the Sharon Cabbage Rose. Now this is a very sought after pattern. As you can see, $455 for one picture, $450 for 8 tumblers, $325 for a picture. I mean, this definitely would be a sought after pattern, one that you'd want to pick up. And that's the Sharon Cabbage Rose. And what you do is, like I said, you just, you find your pattern by identifying it as a link, and then you do your search. This search again, the Patrician, this is another sought after pattern. You can see that these 6 tumblers went for $150, and this complete picture set went for $148. 4 tumblers, $115. So there is a profit to be made if you're willing to do this work and really research your depression glass. Any of it will sell. It just depends on what the pattern is and how sought after it is, and the color sometimes as to how much it will sell for. And this here was just a basic search of federal depression glass. And as you can see, this Amber Madrid gravy boat, $810. That's pretty good for one gravy boat. A parrot plate, $547. We've already seen these 2 pictures. A Madonna Blue Madrid creamer and sugar, $275. Salt and pepper shakers, $269. You can sell depression glass on just about any platform that you sell on. It sells on Etsy. It sells on Amazon. The most important thing you need to just remember when you're selling depression glass, or you're even picking up the glass, usually the most unique patterns are the ones that are more sought after. Usually the most interesting colors are also the ones that are most sought after. When you get it home, if you're looking for federal glass, remember it's always going to have the F mark inside the shield. That's usually what the marking is for federal glass. I'll leave links below to help you find the sites where you can identify the federal glass. And basically you just research your pattern, then you research your sold listings, your completed listings, even your active listings. And like I mentioned previously, if you can pick it up at a reasonable price, you would not go wrong in selling the glass. You have to keep in mind though that you do need to use a lot of extra packing materials. You don't want your glass breaking before it gets to your buyer. And aside from that, it's really easy to sell glass if you're willing to put in the time to do the research. I hope you enjoyed this video. Next week I'm going to talk about Jeannette depression glass. And please like, share, subscribe, leave a comment. And I'll be soon having a 50 subscriber giveaway. I'm almost there at 46 subscribers. So everyone have a great day, and thanks for watching. Bye.